The mid-stage of Han Li's cultivation is disrupted by a surge of negative energy. He seals the negative energy with the help of his secretary. This causes his cultivation level to drop to the foundational stage. To find a spiritual vein to restore his cultivation, Han Li pretends to be a chair-refining practitioner. He ends up in the female official's sect, the Royal Clear official. At this moment, Han Li is confronted by a stunningly beautiful woman. She questions him about refining a magical artifact. As long as the princess is willing to take the risk, I will do my best. Han replied calmly. It's fine, it's just refining the chest and neck conduit. If it really can't be refined, it's not a big deal. I can only say it's just a matter of luck with the green embroidery. I can always look for more later. Upon hearing this, the girl in work clothes smiled slightly and said, seeing that the girl had taken the conversation this far, Han Li nodded. However, after glancing at the large crowd in front of him, he frowned slightly and said, I can refine the materials, but I can't have so many people watching. Otherwise, with so many distractions, the chances of success are slim. That's okay. As long as I can have one person by my side, the others can wait outside for now. Or let these three senior brothers take them to tour the other areas of the chair refining platform. Let's take a look around the other areas of the training ground. The girl in work clothes listened to this and casually replied. Those who came with their children seemed a bit reluctant, but no one spoke out against it. So Han Li stopped wasting words and immediately led the way to the fire hall. The others, under the girl's gaze, had no choice but to stay put. The fire hall, as the most important building for Che training, isn't very large, only about 100 zhong wide. However, it is divided into 3 levels, upper, middle, and lower. The upper level is where materials are stored. The middle level connects to the ground fire for refining materials, and is where low-level spiritual energy is produced. The lower level, however, goes deep underground, about 20 to 30 zhong, specifically used to harness the essence of the ground fire from the pool, to refine high-level spiritual energy. Han Li's usual material refining chamber is in a secret room on the middle level. Accompanied by the green-skinned princess, Han Li calmly walked into this secret room. The room appeared somewhat messy, and he began tidying it up. This is where his senior brother refines items. The girl curiously surveyed everything in the small room, especially the large furnace in the middle of the room, and the ground around it. 8 gourd-shaped artifacts I'm particularly interested in. It seems this is the first time I've seen a place for refining such artifacts. Why has the princess never refined artifacts before? Han Li raised an eyebrow slightly and said calmly, I've been practicing my cultivation techniques since I was little. Where would I have the time to learn about Che training? Usually, I just cultivate at home. The working girl patted her lightly and smiled as she said, cultivating at home. Is the royal residence built on a ley line? While tidying up the material remnants, she casually asked, 1. My senior brother didn't actually know my true identity. He wouldn't really think I'm some noble princess from a major house, would he? Which princess could I possibly be? The girl straightened up. Suddenly, her red lips broke into a smile. Next, my ignorance. I'm not really clear about the princess's true identity. Han Li's heart stirred. He chuckled and said, ignorance. Huh? Heh. That's great. I don't have to put on any princess airs anymore. In fact, I've never even met that emperor of the Great Jin. I only have a tiny bit of connection to the royal family. It's only suitable for those with a bit of royal lineage. Previously, I was always with my master, practicing in the cave on the mountain, but I've never been to any royal residence. A flicker of laughter appeared on the girl's face. Her entire demeanor shifted dramatically. From a graceful young lady, she suddenly transformed into a quirky, spirited girl. Not a royal? Han Li's face showed some surprise. It was hard to tell if she was shocked by the girl's transformation, or if she was taken aback by what she said. How could she be so startled? Actually, the title of princess isn't a lie. It was personally bestowed by the current emperor. If it weren't for the money involved, it would imply that I can't lose any royal face. I wouldn't bother dressing up like this. But on the way, I got tangled up with these guys again. I had to speak slowly and carefully all day long. It was really boring. This is just so boring. Now, it's just Han's senior brother here. Finally, I can relax a bit. Senior brother wouldn't be so clueless as to ramble on after we go outside. Right. The girl plopped down on the only chair in the secret room. She leaned back against the backrest. With a grin, he said, well, everything depends on the princess. I'll just pretend I didn't see anything. But your ancestor must be someone extraordinary. Right. With tears in my eyes, I can only say I'm completely speechless. Have you heard of the 4 great dispersers of the Great Jin? My grandfather is one of them. The girl showed no signs of hiding this fact. She shook her head and said, it seems she's quite proud of it. The 4 great dispersers. Even if I'm not well informed, how could I not have heard of them? So the princess is a descendant of a great figure. I truly feel honored. This identity is certainly not inferior to your status as a princess. You must have a bright future ahead. Upon hearing this, Han Luwen's expression changed slightly. He was genuinely surprised inside. The 4 great dispersers. I had heard about them from Cao Mingrong back then. They include both the late and mid-stage practitioners of the original sound, but each of them possesses incredible powers. They are truly not comparable to ordinary practitioners. Is that so? Almost everyone who knows my grandfather's name speaks of him this way. It must be true. Right. This is how you treat me. I guess it must be true. Right. The girl accepted Han Li's congratulations without hesitation. Han Li touched her nose. I'm feeling a bit of a headache. She immediately ignored the girl. With both hands clasped, several spells were cast out. They landed on the top. Suddenly, a buzzing sound echoed from the top. A red glow slowly rose, swirling around. The girl showed no signs of hiding her curiosity, but those pitch-black, gem-like eyes were fixed on Han Li's actions, not blinking at all. Bring out the materials. After Han Li waited for the peak to be fully activated, she turned to the girl and said, this is for you. Just so you know, what's said outside doesn't count. That's just polite talk in front of others. If my senior brother really messes up the bloodline camp I worked so hard to find, you have to stick with me. The saintess had beautiful eyes, so clear and bright. Then, with a graceful hand, she pulled out a fist-sized object from her storage bag at her waist and tossed it over. It sparkled like ordinary silver ore, but it was mixed with countless blood-like strands. Looking at the ore in her hand, hearing the girl giggle and say such things, Han Mi could only roll her eyes. This sweat-absorbing material, not to mention the 7th-level check cultivators, even the 7 masters of various machines, might not be able to get their hands on it. If he really were a 7th-level check cultivator, it would be surprising if he could afford it. Immediately, Han Li said no more. With a flick of his hand, he tossed the item into the cauldron. After throwing in other auxiliary materials, he sat down cross-legged on the ground. He patted a talisman onto himself. A layer of faint blue light emerged from his body. Incantations began to flow from his mouth. As a result, the 8 gourd collision artifacts on the ground shone brightly at the same time. Then, after the gourd mouths flashed with a brilliant light, they suddenly spewed out 8 pillars of crimson fire, just right, hitting the lower half of the sawtooth. Instantly, a wave of scorching suffocation filled the entire secret room. While Han Li was busy refining the blood thoughts, in a quiet, secluded attic at the top of the mountain, there was an elderly Taoist with a cold expression and a middle-aged beauty. They were speaking seriously about something. The time is almost up for this plan. Our royal family has been preparing for over 400 years. After 7 or 8 generations of emperors' hard work, not a single whisper of wind has escaped. But if we fail and don't obtain those 2 treasures, the entire royal family might immediately face disaster. Don't underestimate our Yu family over the years. We've secretly hidden quite a bit of power. But if we truly clash with forces like Buddhism and Taoism, we might still be easily overwhelmed. And those corrupt Confucians, they may claim to uphold royal authority, but once their interests are threatened, the first to strike against our royal family would likely be them. I always feel, this time our Yu family is playing with fire. The Taoist priest said solemnly, we know well what you say, Aunt, but this is also our Yu family's best chance to completely break free from the influence of other forces. Don't forget how our 7th uncle fell. Wasn't it because our royal family's power grew just a bit larger and attracted a few more reasons? The 7 cultivators and major forces immediately joined forces, clearly targeting our uncle, and then just found an excuse to shrug off all responsibility. If we don't break free from this predicament, our royal family, the Yi clan, is known as the first family in the cultivation world. But in reality, they are merely the sacrifices of compromises made by several major powers. As long as the rumors are true, and we truly obtain those 2 spiritual treasures, along with the forces we've painstakingly cultivated over the years, we can make the other powers submit to our authority. and they won't dare to act against the Yi clan so easily. This risk is worth taking. Emi-Ifa let out a sigh of amazement, and slowly said, although the cultivation world has long rumored about the incredible power of the heavenly treasures, I still find it hard to believe that just 2 items could reverse the situation and place us on equal footing with the major powers. I'm afraid it might backfire, provoking the other powers' scrutiny, and bringing disaster upon us. Don't forget that even with the heavenly treasures, those powers still have entities of that caliber behind them. While we don't know how many there are, just one of them could have the ability to wipe out the Yi clan. In the ancient tomb, Hengwang said with great caution, the existence of divine artifacts in our generation is simply invincible. She said with great caution, the existence of the divine artifact in our generation, it's practically invincible. Even if the third uncle worships them with the heavenly spirit treasure, facing such ancient monsters, we can probably only manage to protect ourselves. However, Aunt, there's no need to worry too much about this. Our Yu family has been secretly investigating the existence and weaknesses of these ancient monsters for over 100 years. As a result, after much analysis from various aspects, we estimate, even if these ancient monsters' lifespans really are as speculated, they could live over 1,000 years longer than the 7 cultivators of Yuanying. In the past 2,000 years of the Great Jin, there have been very few who have advanced to the divine transformation stage or possibly to the divine artifact stage. Moreover, a small portion of them have ascended quietly and left. The remaining ones in the human realm are at most just 2 or 3. Furthermore, those who linger in the human realm have paid a tremendous price. Not only can they hardly engage in battles with others, but even when they do, they have to hold back, reducing their cultivation to a late-stage level. Although we don't know the exact reasons, it seems that these ancient monsters are not as invincible as the rumors suggest. Besides, most of these ancient monsters likely won't act out of a sense of power or decline. After frowning slightly, the middle-aged beauty said seriously. The middle-aged beauty frowned slightly. She said solemnly, how do you all know about these things? Don't tell me. All of this is just your speculation. Or, maybe you found it out through your own inquiries over the years. It's hard to tell how much has been embellished. I want to understand the secrets and news about the transformation into the divine realm being stuck in the human world. But none of it has come to fruition. You seem to have figured it all out in just over 100 years. And you look so confident. Do you really think I'm getting old and easy to fool? What else are you hiding that you haven't said? The old Taoist nun didn't seem pleased at all. Instead, her expression suddenly turned cold. But we didn't mean to deceive you, Aunt. This information, although not discovered by our Yu family members, is still from the family. It was learned from an elder who was newly inducted a few years ago. We calculated it, and it matches all the other clues we've gathered. The orphan said it was discovered by our Yu family, which isn't entirely wrong. Every time a sword is drawn, it engages the orphan mother. I quickly explained, saying it was the elder. When did the Yi family add another elder? Is it a loose cultivator, or from some small sect? There shouldn't be any issues, right? The Taoist nun remained silent. The Taoist priestess remained silent. The persistent questioning continued. Don't worry, Aunt. This person is not from our Great Jin. They came from the Tianlin grassland. They have quite impressive abilities. Plus, we've already sent someone to investigate their background. Riley is definitely not a problem. There is indeed such a person from the Tianlin grassland. They had to escape because they offended the Tianlin Holy Temple, and the core matters of their family have always been kept secret. But this person's father spoke confidently. Oh, that's more like it. Although I don't agree with your follow-up plan, since the other elders support it, and it has already been put into action. We must secure those to heavenly treasures. As for what comes next, let's take it step by step. You still need to be extra careful from now on. Those major forces have sharp eyes and ears. If we make even a slight move, it will attract their attention. We mustn't let any rumors slip out. The old woman reminded again, saying that not long ago, many more forces were sent to guard the capital. The father sighed bitterly, feeling somewhat helpless. The reason is that the 7 forces have also increased. The beautiful father gave a wry smile. He said somewhat helplessly, the reason is that the 7 modifications have also increased. The Taoist priestess felt a hint of doubt. Her expression slightly changed as she asked about this matter that hadn't been elaborated on. It's all just embellishments for the conclusion period. The reasons are still at the same level as before. It's still the same few people guarding the experience. The beautiful woman shook her head, saying, "That'll do. It seems they are still just a bit suspicious. They haven't truly uncovered anything. As for the 3 crowns here, ever since the news about refining the Zhongbo was released, it has drawn quite a bit of attention. Otherwise, you guys would definitely be under more pressure." The old Taoist's expression softened. The ant scolded in agreement. "However, even though the 3 crowns here are just bait, if that spiritual treasure replica can truly be refined successfully, it could significantly boost our strength. If possible, we should still try our best to refine this treasure." The beautiful woman thought for a moment and then said so. "I have a good idea about this. The Pingshan seal, a treasure that can split mountains and crack the earth. Its textiles are also not of ordinary weakness. Once refined, it would be almost equivalent to adding a reason out of thin air. I will do my utmost in the later stages of embellishment." The Taoist priest and Erbo, they said they want to win over some high-level experts among the scattered practitioners. They said they wanted to win over some masters among the scattered practitioners. "How's it going after all? Tell me about it." The old Taoist nun shifted her tone. She asked with concern about another matter, bringing together the scattered forces. It started a long time ago. 2 of the 4 major scattered forces have already agreed to our royal family's offerings. The other 2 are elusive, making it impossible to track their movements. So, there's no talk of bringing them together. However, the Ghost King of Zipingshan and the Retro Master Lion of Wanyao Valley are both willing for our royal family to stand independently, no longer under the control of powerful forces. They promise to lend us a helping hand when the time comes. Others who have shown goodwill towards us include small sects, as well as the old Taoist nun and the middle-aged beauty from Huangqingwen, who had a more detailed conversation in the attic. Time passed little by little. In the Earth Fire Hall, the green-skinned princess widened her eyes, looking at a silver metal egg that was intertwined and enveloped by fluorescent blood threads. Her face was filled with joy. "Brother Han, I didn't expect you to actually refine this blood thread silver. It seems to have a very high purity. It seems that the master is quite skilled for his age. Even the disciples have such exquisite Chet training techniques. I've been to several Chet training houses. The trainers there don't have the same level of confidence. It's all about what you've practiced." The girl in work clothes was playing with the materials in her hands. She smiled and said to Hanli, "The techniques taught by my master are certainly not those of an ordinary Chet trainer. Besides, I'm not really a disciple of my master. I'm just temporarily helping out at the Chet training pad. When the time comes, I still need to focus on my own cultivation. Right now, I'm just learning the refining techniques as I go." Hanli smiled slightly. She calmly said, "That's too bad. You can cultivate the blood vein technique, so you must have a talent for Chet training." The girl showed a look of regret upon hearing Hanli's words. "Since I've helped the princess finish practicing the blood vein technique, I still have some keys to handle, so I won't keep the princess company." Hanli began to tidy up her magical tools, looking like she was about to take her leave. "Don't be in such a hurry. Do you think I look ugly, making you want to leave so quickly? Besides, who said I only want to refine this one thing? I still have another material that needs to be handled. Who would only refine this one thing for this princess? I still have another material that needs to be processed. I didn't know how skilled my senior brother was at refining techniques. I didn't dare to take it out recklessly. Now, I naturally have full confidence in my senior brother." After the girl collected the blood like silver, she said with a smile. Then, she quickly took out a healing item from her waist pouch. She tossed it directly to Hanli. Hanli felt a bit overwhelmed. There are still materials to refine. The princess thinks so highly of me. With my cultivation level, I would already be exhausted after refining the blood threads. As for refining other materials, I truly have the will, but lack the strength. I still need to consider it. The healing item was bitterly smiling without even opening the lid. "Speaking of which, that's true. Your magical power is indeed a bit shallow. However, this time, the item doesn't need refining. I just want my senior brother to help me process this material a little, to prevent the material's spiritual essence from being damaged. Let me make it clear to my senior brother first. After you see this item, you must not leak it to anyone else. This is something I obtained with great difficulty. There probably aren't many like it in the world." The girl in work clothes tilted her head. "There probably aren't many items like this in the world." The girl in work clothes tilted her head. A hint of pride appeared on her face. What material is so precious? There's even some gold in here. She glanced at the healing item in her hand. Curiously, she casually opened the box. Before she could clearly see what was in the river, a blinding light suddenly burst forth from the water. It caught her off guard. Hanli was momentarily dazzled, her eyes shaking from the brilliance. Hanli was taken aback. A flash of blue light flickered in her eyes. Zero Qing and Zero Mu. Instinctively, they both activated their abilities. What is this? The girl and Hanli exclaimed simultaneously, both filled with astonishment. In the river was a half-foot-long rainforest creature. It was crystal clear, glimmering with red light. It looked like it was formed from copper flames. A majestic bird from the rainforest. No, wait, it seems a bit different. With tears in her eyes, she gazed at the creature in the river. She couldn't help but murmur something about a majestic bird. This is the long feather from the tail of a black phoenix. My grandfather took me to visit a great master overseas a few years ago. I secretly plucked it while he was sound asleep. Heh, that silly bird was fast asleep the whole time. It never woke up from beginning to end. She had not woken up from the beginning to the end. Come over here. What's wrong with your eyes? They were glowing blue just now. That's really interesting. Is this some kind of spell? The girl keeps chattering nonstop. Her eyes are darting around restlessly. The ugly elephant said tearfully, Mother, as if trying to figure something out. But Hanli sensed something was off. He had already reigned in the powers of the Ming and Qing tombs. Naturally, he couldn't see anything unusual anymore. Meanwhile, Hanli was in the rainforest by the Ding River, talking with the great eye god in the divine stone, the tail spirit of the witch phoenix. If I remember correctly, this seems to be on par with the Hao Yang bird, a living elemental spirit. Can its tail spirit replace the Hao Yang bird's long forest? Hanli asked seriously. In legends, the black phoenix is one of the branches of the living phoenix. This kind of spiritual instrument can actually pass down its bloodline from ancient times. It's truly astonishing. Unfortunately, these two materials still can't replace each other. However, if slightly modified and mixed with this ring, that could work. It could enhance the power of your three-leaf fan even further. But the spirit in front of us has already lost most of its essence. It's no longer suitable as material. It's strange. Back when I was traveling around in I never heard of any old monster that had tamed such a spirit. The great deity first showed surprise, then began to feel puzzled and regretful. Hearing that, Hanli naturally felt very disappointed, as it couldn't be replaced. At that moment, the girl in work clothes was looking at Hanli with eager eyes, clearly very interested in why her eyes were glowing blue. Seeing the girl's expression, Hanli rubbed his nose, bitterly smiling to himself. Just now, the glow in his eyes was actually due to washing them with water. This method only makes the eyes a little clearer and brighter. It's just a little trick we DJs use, not enough to be of any real significance. Calmly, he replied. What do you mean by washing the eyes with water? Do you have any here? Could you give me a bottle? The girl perked up at his words, excitedly asking. This kind of water has to be prepared on the spot to be effective. This kind of watering is only effective when prepared on the spot. What I obtained back then has long been wiped clean. I'm afraid I've disappointed the princess, Hanli said with a hint of regret. Senior brother Han, are you telling the truth or just joking? You wouldn't look at me because I'm young, would you? You're just trying to tease me with your bare face. The girl blinked her beautiful eyes. She pouted her lips. She looked completely unconvinced. How could I, Han, dare to deceive the princess with lies? However, I do have something else. Perhaps the princess might be interested in it. With a tearful laugh, she slowly said, What kind of deal? You're not interested in me, are you? The girl listened to Hanli's straightforward words and straightened up. Then she seemed to remember something. She chuckled softly. A glint of mischief flashed in her eyes. Princess Yu is just joking. Such a genius and protector of the land. How could I, a mere chair refining stage cultivator, dare to have such delusions? I just want to confirm something with the princess. I need the princess to help me verify it. After Hanli covered it back up, he said with a bitter smile, verifying that is very simple. No need for any kind of deal. Just help me handle this black phoenix spell. Feel free to ask any questions you have. Feel free to ask any questions you have. As long as I know, I'll definitely answer you. The girl chuckled lightly. She waved her hand and said it confidently. It settled then. Hanli pondered for a moment, nodded slightly. An hour later, when the girl in work clothes elegantly walked out of the Earth Fire Hall, the men and women who came with her had been waiting outside the shop, a bit anxious. The 3 chair refining disciples were also sitting quietly by the side. These men and women were all extraordinary in their appearance. They really weren't the kind of low-level practitioners who would dare to be careless in the slightest. When the girl stepped out, immediately, the young men rushed over in a crowd. "How's the princess? The bloodline wasn't damaged by that guy, right?" they all asked enthusiastically. "I'm fine. Thank you all for your concern. And my senior brothers have already refined the materials for me. There were no mistakes in between." The girl's adoptive father's single strand of blue hair smiled with a hint of nobility. There was no trace left of the wild girl image she had with Han Li. Han Li was also walking out of the Earth Fire Hall. There's no trace left of the wild girl image she had when she was with Han Li. Han Li, who had just walked out of the Earth Fire Hall. Han Li, who is just coming out of the fire hall. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but twitch my lips. Heh, you sly little guy, Han. Since you managed to pry the origin of Wu Finglan from such a little girl in such a roundabout way, are you really planning to go there? To confront that island master's Wu Feng ideology? Of course, since I know how to enhance the power of the 3-leaf fan, I naturally have to give it a try, after spending so many rare materials and effort. If the power isn't satisfying, it would feel like I wasted my time. After all, an ordinary ancient castle is really not that powerful against Yuan Ying's honest and kind nature. Let's go. They've been stuck with the royal relatives for a few days. I'll just stay in the secret room to avoid being disturbed by those troublesome people and delay my own cultivation, Han Li said lightly. Then she quietly slipped out of the Earth Fire Hall, heading back to her place. Over the next couple of days, that girl in the work uniform came to find Han Li again, wanting her to refine something, but Han Li had already put up a sign saying she was in closed-door cultivation, and opened a simple barrier at the door, letting the girl pout. After circling around outside her place, after circling around her residence, a departure that must be celebrated. 2 days passed. These young men and women finally left with that beautiful woman from the royal family. The Chet training pad returned to normal. Han Li occasionally came out to practice with the materials, completing her monthly tasks on time. She focused on cultivating the Demon King rank. Time passed month by month, because Han Li was able to complete her refining tasks on time every time. Old Wei became increasingly attentive to her. He even took time out to explain some special techniques for material refining to Han Li. Gradually, he began to give her some rare materials to refine. Seeing this, Han Li remained calm and waited for the sun and moon to complete these tasks on time. She never delayed even once. This surprised Old Wei a bit, and he finally recognized Han Li's talent in Chet training. Naturally, he began to pass on more knowledge to Han Li from time to time. At the same time, he started to let her handle the less important parts of the materials needed for what he was refining. As well, not long after, Han Li was surprised to discover that everything he had handed over for refinement was made entirely of rare earth attribute materials. This left him feeling somewhat uneasy. After all, aside from a few treasures pursued for their power, what other magical tools or treasures could possibly be made entirely from earth attribute materials? However, none of this was related to him. He continued with his original plan, diligently cultivating the second level of the King of Hell, and faintly sensed the astonishing changes in his body. Just then, a sudden message arrived from outside the mountain, saying that the person who had brought him into the mountain, Yan Shinru, had suddenly fallen seriously ill, and had actually passed away due to the illness. On the day of the illness, Han Li had observed that there was nothing wrong with his body, and upon receiving this news, he was greatly taken aback and muttered to himself. At the same time, he recalled that recently, there had been several sightings of unfamiliar cultivators in the Golden Pass, quietly sweeping the premises with divine stones. It felt as if a storm was brewing. He absolutely could not stay here for long, or he might unknowingly get caught up in some major trouble. We can't stay here for long, otherwise, we might get caught up in some big trouble. Han Li, with her rich experience, immediately made this decision. In the remaining time, Han Li focused even more on cultivating the Dark Lord. More than a year later, a minor incident occurred among the royal officials. A low-level disciple from the Chet training department suddenly went missing without any explanation. This immediately alarmed several high-ranking officials in the Guanzhong. Even that old Taoist nun from the Yuanying stage heard about this matter and personally inquired about it. The disappearance of such a low-level disciple was originally a trivial matter compared to the thousands of disciples in Guanzhong. However, this particular disciple was someone who could provide some assistance in refining items for Guanzhong. It's no wonder that it stirred up so many royal officials. Now, in the loft where the old Taoist nun once discussed matters with that famous merchant, the old Taoist nun sits in the center in a grand chair, with two other Taoist nuns in yellow robes standing beside her. One is in her 40s, and the other looks to be around 27 or 8. What's going on? Our royal officials are strictly prohibiting. One was over 40 years old. The other looked to be around 27 or 28. What's going on? Our royal relatives and officials strictly prohibit this. One of the disciples actually vanished without a trace, unnoticed by anyone. Don't you to have anything to say? The old nun's expression was grim. She asked clearly, reporting to Master Uncle, I've already investigated. All the prohibitions inside the gate are intact. There are no signs of an external invasion. It seems that if it weren't for the arrival of the righteous sect, then it's possible that the disciple left on their own during the year of the pig. The nun hesitated for a moment, and respectfully returned to the righteous sect. Our royal relatives and officials' mutual connections are such that even a few masters of the righteous sect from the Great Jin couldn't break through from the outside overnight. However, if they left from the inside, it wouldn't be too difficult. What is the name of that disciple? What is their background? The old nun furrowed her brows, recalling something and asking. This disciple is named Han Li. She was negligent in her duties in the Hui alliance, and distanced herself from the Bailu 2 years ago, bringing back a wandering disciple who was about to take a master. The young nun seemed to have inquired about relevant information, and hurriedly replied, the name Han Li. How does it relate to the one just recruited by the Yi family? The elder's name will be exactly the same. The young nun was momentarily stunned. She exclaimed in surprise, yes. When Master Zi just heard this disciple's name, he was also taken aback for a moment. But the two are probably just a coincidence. After all, one is Yuanying 7, and the other is Chetraining 7. It's unlikely they could be related in any way. The young nun analyzed thoughtfully,